So I think it's always good to reflect on challenging times because they can really help us. I'm currently sat on a sofa, but lockdown has made me realise that I do love sitting on a floor. But I thought I'd just sit on a sofa. But yeah, the highs and lows of lockdown 2020. I think it's really important to reflect back on challenging times, as I said. I know that when something big happens, so whether it was like when I was on Britain's Got Talent, for those who don't know, I belly danced in the semi-finals. So when I first went on that, everything changed and I struggled, and I loved it, but I struggled with all the change and the kind of 15 minutes of fame and stuff. But then that was the same with the change in lockdown, because I always remember with Britain's Got Talent, hey, I woke up one day and I woke up one day and I was like all over the national news, and it was like crazy. I was still living in my student halls, and yeah, it was just mental. It just all changed overnight, my life, and I loved it at first, but then I really struggled. But it was actually the best thing that's ever happened to me, because, well, it's even a bit like lockdown as well, because it gave me chance to, one, it unearthed a lot of my current issues. So like with lockdown, I'd realised that there were certain things that I'd still struggled with, like with what I eat, because suddenly I couldn't have access to my like safe foods. So I have like in my head a list of yes foods and no foods, and maybe foods, and a lot of my yes foods that I'm comfortable with eating I couldn't get, whereas I had to challenge myself and eat things that I wasn't comfortable with. Those who know me know I've had a past of eating disorders, and I hadn't quite realised that I still had a lot of yes foods and a lot of no foods and a lot of no foods. So that was good. I actually, and maybe this is too much information, started my period again in lockdown, and again something that I hadn't really dealt with was the fact that I'd been so stressed with everything, and last year trying to put a mask on everything, because I'd had such a challenging summer last year. Again, challenging summer, but also the worst things that had happened to me came out, but the best thing as well, because I was able to have a home on my own, and in the end it led to the best thing in the situation where I am now. But with all that stress, anxiety and rushing around, working way too hard, I just didn't have periods, and I was really struggling with everything for a bit of time. Again, it was the adjusting, but then in lockdown, because I actually stopped and reflected and reduced the amount of the way I was working, because I was just like literally working all the time. At the start of lockdown, not at all. I literally got up at 6 a.m. and fell asleep on my desk at 2 a.m. I think, and then also trying to juggle the kids and stuff. But then it made me reflect like why I'm doing certain things, because it was to fill a void, because I was quite lonely, and I felt quite isolated on my own at home with 2 kids half the time. People always judge me. They've always judged me. So I should really be used to it, but it still hurts when you're kind of extreme people pleaser. It still hurts when people judge you, because you're like, I don't want to be liked. But you're not going to please everyone. And as I say in my new book, you've got to fly your own flag. Stop trying to please others. Just please yourself. Fly your own flag. But all that said, yeah, and then I felt guilty coming on my periods, because then I was like, oh no, I've failed. So how bizarre is that, thinking? I've not actually shared that about my periods before. And I'd actually failed because I wasn't doing this toxic productivity, this toxic workaholic, like workaholic. And I actually felt I failed. And then I read an article, I think my dad shared, and I posted in the Squats and Sparkles Women's Health Club, because they've really kept me going, having like my goals each week and chatting to other women who are wanting to get healthy in mind, body and soul. And that really helped me think, okay, this is actually toxic productivity because I'm not getting what I need done. It's more that I'm working, I'm being a busy idiot, as they say, because that's often like what happens when you just work too much. You're actually not being like your best self or your most productive self. You're just working all the time. So I made lots of mistakes at the start of lockdown, and a bit like probably when I went through Britain's Got Talent or last summer, where you're trying to like redefine yourself. So it's a great time, a period of change, but also a really challenging time at the start with all the change. And like with Britain's Got Talent, that was like one of the best things that had ever happened to me, because I'd never had the opportunity to be able to be in the media and entertainment industry like that. It gave me a foot in the door to be able to get work experience, to be a journalist, and I would have never known people if they hadn't have interviewed me. And I still grafted. You still have to graft really hard. But also it gave me dancing as a career and a profession and stuff. But obviously there's always downsides to any industry, especially entertainment and media, because you can meet some amazing people, but then also some drainers as well, just the people who use you and abuse you, unfortunately. But in the end, that ended up being a positive, and I'm feeling like that in lockdown because it made me reflect. Well, it also made me realise how I need to like stop clutching onto things, so I get like really unhealthy addictions, whether it be Diet Coke or Diet Cream Soda or really random addictions, like, and so I'm like trying to address certain things. But it gave me a chance to finish off things. So I think because it was like a hyper-focus time, so you can hyper-focus on your goals. I actually finished, as you may know, my first published book, which has been 3 years in the making, Eat, Sleep, Control, Repeat. And it is my journey from self-harm and abuse to self-love and self-care. And in order to be truly successful, because health is wealth, and I don't think if lockdown hadn't have happened, I would have been hyper-focused on, one, getting myself well enough to be able to finish it, but to reflect, have that time of reflection to see how far you've come. Because one of my favourite quotes, and might even be, on my card that comes with my book, you haven't come this far just to come this far. And I love that quote because it is so true. So when we're going through challenging times, just remind yourself of how far you've come. It also gave me a chance to reflect that I was lonely and I would like to meet someone. I kind of joked about being single and chatted a lot about it. But I think I was actually quite happy. I was getting to a point, because I've got some amazing friends, I was getting to a point where I was really, really kind of comfortable, but quite lonely as well. And so even on one of my goals with my accountability buddy, Jordan Wake, and Simply Ladies, they're my two friends that we do our goals. And actually, I'm lucky I've got lots of friends I do goals with. I do them on Monday with Jordan and Karen, and then Wednesdays with Amy from A Mum Full of Dreams blog, and Carla, 50 Shades of Motherhood and My Bump to Baby. And actually, you can listen to us talking about lessons of lockdown on the 50 Shades of Motherhood podcast. But anyway, I digress. But one of my goals was to actually take time to date. And well, obviously in lockdown it was online, and I found that weird because I get a lot of spam online, so I miss a lot of messages. So I do apologise if I don't reply, because I do miss a lot of messages because I get so much spam and a lot of like love and a lot of hate, so you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. So I don't always look for my own mental health, but so I thought, okay, I'll go on a few sites just to actually like put it out there, but without doing it on my other channels because I felt really uncomfortable. And yeah, so I've actually met someone, so that's been a really good lesson. Is also, I didn't realise how lonely I was because I was quite happy in my work and my home and everything. And you've probably seen him already, Mike, on my other vlogs. And it gives you that time to like hyper focus on the big goals in your life, because literally I used to just go through the process of just doing what I'd always done rather than actually like refocusing and hyper focusing on goals. And it's made me realise that whilst there's certain vampires that have drifted away, not to clutch onto them or to even be bothered what they think. Just focus on your little core team of cheerleaders, because they're the ones that will see you through no matter what. Because we need people around us that are going to give us positive energy and believe in us no matter what, whether we're failing or we're succeeding. They're just going to be there for the journey and hold us. It also reminded me of certain things that are really important to me. So my home, my family, my friends are obviously my work, writing and dancing. I absolutely love, and vlogging, chatting to you all. But also my faith as well, as basically faith and fitness. That also kept me going. So I don't talk a lot about faith. I talk a lot about fitness. And it's like, it's weird why I don't talk about it, because I know it turns a lot of people off. But I think it's also important to talk about what works for you personally, because we're all individuals. And I really missed going to church on a Sunday, like really missed it, because that was like, I used to dance late on a Saturday night and miss my belly dancing gigs. But then I feel like my soul, it sounds really weird, my soul was like nourished on a Sunday with my best friend Laura, and we used to go to church with the kids, and she'd help out Sunday school, and I'd try and help her, and it was just like a family. And they do say church isn't something you go to, it's a family you belong to, or whatever place you go for your outlet. It's a bit like the gym as well to me. Losing that really hurt as well. But I think it's good to reflect and keep those things in our life, the important like blocks in our life, before we let all the little pebbles in. Because often I've just been trying to please and keep everything going, and all the pebbles, and then it's not allowing room for like my big building blocks in my life. And I definitely know mine are, and I'd love to know what yours are. I know mine are like love, faith, family, work, fitness. And by family I mean my friends as well, because honestly my friendships are so strong that I genuinely see them as my family, and they are unconditional. But also having that time to care for yourself, because at a lot of points in lockdown I was totally alone, and the only person who was accountable, truly accountable to myself, was me. So be your own unconditional best friend, despite challenges, despite when we fail, we've made mistakes. I know I have made many mistakes, but we are perfectly imperfect. I'd love to know your lessons from lockdown and what you've learned as well in lockdown. I've also learned some really funny things about myself, like that I'm really annoying because I am the messiest person. I always like to clean up, but I'm the messiest person ever. I blame the dyspraxia. And the dyslexia. I have no sense of order, or I just knock. I am so clumsy, like so clumsy. So that I've annoyed myself. There's been little things where I'm like, I've got nobody to blame. Normally I blame myself anyway, so I'm definitely blaming myself because I'm on my own at home in lockdown, and I'm just messy and clumsy and annoying. But yeah. But that said, it's actually not to berate yourself about it. It's to have a laugh at yourself and just think like, with Alexa, my Alexa app, my Alexa dot, to have a laugh at yourself and just think, oh well, that's just me and I'll try and be better, but sometimes maybe that's my creative spirit. So trying to turn everything into a positive. So look at all those negatives, but we can always find positives. And they always say failures are the condiment to success. So sending you so much peace, so much love, and so many shimmies. Please do subscribe, it means the world. Share away, chat to me on social at Mama May Blog. I'd love to hear your successes and maybe your mistakes in lockdown. There's been plenty of them. Both ways. Successes being my book. I'll put the pre-order link, order link below. And then a lot of mistakes. See you later.